USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2014 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships. And this is the mixed championship between San Francisco Polar Bears and Minneapolis Dragon Thrust, live from the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. Our bracket in the mixed round as we see how we got to this point, with Dragon Thrust scoring a 10-8 win over Wild Card yesterday. Polar Bears moved on past the Chad Larson experience, and now they meet again for the championship here at the U.S. Open. With Evan Lepler, I'm Wayne Randazzo. And Evan, these two teams know each other quite well. They met for the mixed national championship last year.
Yeah, it's funny because most people think in the mixed division there's more turnover than any other, but it's these same two teams, Minnesota at home trying to win the U.S. Open for the first time. This Polar Bears team began as just a team that went to layup, and they were so successful. They've stayed together. They've been a perennial power, and they're trying to spoil the party here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, and they almost didn't make it to the U.S. Open championship, even the semifinals, as they had to get through pool play pretty tough.
Well, it was an intense pool play, a couple losses, some very tight games. This Dragon Thrust team is still the only undefeated team, but the Polar Bears started as a layout team in 2010. Greg Marliov and Anchi So brought a bunch of friends together. They've been champions of the U.S. Open before, a really talented Bay Area team, and in fact, the only Bay Area mixed team here at the U.S. Open this year. There were 3 a year ago. You see the USA flavor to the jerseys. They're getting ready to go to Worlds next month in Lecco. And Greg Marliov, a leader of this team, he has something of an understated personality, but he leads by example, and he can do it all on the field. He's a powerful thrower. He's going to have to match up with James Hron, who's one of the key guys for Minneapolis Dragon Thrust.
Dragon Thrust, as you mentioned, undefeated in this tournament, 8-0, and they were the national champions last year. Didn't win the U.S. Open, though.
They did not win the U.S. Open. They were eliminated in the semifinals. Minneapolis, well coached by Jake Henderson, a former player. And we saw this guy just run around and make plays yesterday. Jay Drescher, an all-around athlete. He reminds me of just like a rubber bouncy ball, just the way he just goes in all different directions at any times. He lays out feverishly, and he pops right up and throws deep. A dynamic threat for Dragon Thrust. He's going to have to be big today on his home turf.
We are ready to start our trio of championship games from the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. The mixed final coming up next. Polar Bears versus Dragon Thrust. The opening pull next. The 2014 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by the Discraft UltraStar, official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer today for Discraft UltraStar. The Triple Crown Tour, America's most competitive and prestigious series of ultimate tournaments. And by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of ultimate in the United States. To learn more about Ultimate or find out where to play in your area, visit usaultimate.org. Starting lineup for the Polar Bears as Daniel Naruo is one of the cutters, along with Morgan Paulson, Eric Greenwood, and Anchi So. Scott Roeder, Clay Miller, and Natasha Wan. For Alex Crew, the head coach of Polar Bears, as they tried to win the U.S. Open against one of their arch nemesis, the Minneapolis Dragon Thrust, with Patty King, Mike Clark, Jordan Hupp, and Sarah Meckstroth, the cutters, Martha Harris, Dave Klink, Talis Boyd, the handlers, Jake Henderson, the head coach for Dragon Thrust. So far today, it's cool but humid, 72 degrees, humidity at 94%. Wind is back, 15-mile-an-hour winds out of the south. Pretty much the same wind conditions we saw yesterday when Dragon Thrust turned the disc over 29 times, but still able to pull off a 10-8 victory.
Yeah, they didn't handle the wind conditions very well. That's going to need to improve today.
First team to 15 wins, 7 players on each side. Halftime, once a team scores 8, disc may advance in any direction. Can't run with it, though. Players have 10 seconds to get rid of it. It's a largely self-officiated game. We will see the observers quite a bit, though, as Dragon Thrust gets ready. Jacob Blaine and Jay Drescher. There's Greg Marliov and his squad, as we should see a good one here today between these two teams that know each other quite well, met last year in the national championship game, and meeting once again in this U.S. Open final. Of course, they have played in this tournament already in pool play, as Dragon Thrust picked up a 15-9 win in that one. Dragon Thrust has not lost yet in this tournament, and they may not on their home turf. The opening pull from Greg Marliov. And we are underway here in Blaine, the National Sports Center. It's the Polar Bears with the huck on the first toss of the game, and laying out, unable to make that catch for the Polar Bears rather for Dragon Thrust, is Jordan Hupp.
Being chased from behind by Robert Gormley. Hupp could have made that play. That was a nice put. You see Dragon Thrust game plan. They don't hesitate by taking that deep shot.
Now the Polar Bears with their first possession. That's Meaty Chang. Going lefty with that backhand flip to Gormley. Now back to Chang. Pressure defense up front, but Polar Bears trying to break it as they go with the Huck out of bounds. Nobody really close to that one. Perhaps Sonny Zaccaro, the intended target. Dragon Thrust takes over. Again, first to 15 becomes the U.S. Open champion. First to 8 sends this game to halftime. Dave Klink walks it up for Dragon Thrust. You mentioned Polar Bears as they turn it over here. Dragon Thrust does. Polar Bears with the American flag across their chest. The American flag's colors, same for Dragon Thrust. They both have red, white, and blue on today.
Both these teams will be representing the USA at the World Club Championships in Lecco, Italy, about a month from now.
Adam Rady looks to get rid of it. The flick ahead to Zaccaro. Rady being cut by 2. Looking to dump it off, and he does. That's Sonny Zaccaro. Playing catch with Rady. The flick toward the end zone. Zaccaro laying out, can't get it. The defenseman was right there. Zaccaro couldn't run through him. Good effort by Mike Clark in the end zone.
Clark, a well-timed poach. Sees the upline throw released and gets a fingertip on the disc.
Jordan Hupp. Side force as he gets rid of it. Up ahead to Dave Klink. Klink looking end zone on the sideline, and it's good. Clark has it for Dragon Thrust, and they're on the board first.
First point bookends for Mike Clark. Coach calls him a rock star cutter, creating separation from one of the top defenders of the Polar Bears, Greg Marlioff.
Dragon Thrust strikes first, trying to play a cleaner game than they did yesterday. Mentioned the 29 turnovers. They were outdueled by Wildcard's 31 turnovers, and it would end up being a very low-scoring game, 10-8.
Yeah, it was not the prettiest of ultimate games yesterday. Off to a better start today. Mike Clark now with a dozen trips to the end zone this weekend. He played for another mixed team in this region, Bird, last year. Actually, that team beat Dragon Thrust at regionals last year. Obviously, what's at stake today? The Polar Bears trying to win their second U.S. Open title, and perhaps more importantly, gain a mental edge as the two teams head into Worlds. You know, they expect to see each other perhaps at Worlds, perhaps in Frisco in October. So I asked both coaches about what specific matchups they want to see, and you know, Alex Crew for Polar Bears basically said, and we want to match up smart, but I also want to test things out and see some unknowns, you know, just so we have more experience for down the road, which I thought was interesting.
Polar Bears bring it up after falling behind 1-0. Scott Roeder trying to get around Hemish.
It's a good matchup in the hair department, Roeder and Hemish.
Hemish has it all bottled up today in the ponytail. So does Roeder. Roeder flips it deep on the Huck. Looking end zone, and he finds his target. Natasha Wan puts the Polar Bears on the board.
Natasha Wan, 23-year-old offensive cutter, very solid O-line performer out of the University of Santa Cruz. Well-timed cut and smooth offensive flow here from the Polar Bears. So 2 downwind points to start. Both coaches also talked about, you know, starting with basic offensive line and defensive lines, but if the wind picks up, teams are struggling, they might switch to more upwind lines and downwind lines.
4th goal this weekend for Natasha Wan. As the Polar Bears get on the board, They call themselves Hebe Roar.
Natasha Wan has done some work as an intern for the Oakland Raiders in the Bay Area. Interested in getting into the sports industry.
Scott Roeder has 14 assists this weekend. Second on his team. As the pull goes to Dragon Thrust, and each team has traded a downwind goal early on. Downwind again for Minneapolis. 8-0 in this tournament on their home turf. Nice grab there by Glader.
Oh, nice cut.
And now Glader going for the sideline toss to the end zone, too far for Pat Niles as he laid out but couldn't reach it.
Couldn't get there, but it was a fantastic double move on the cut to get that wide open.
Gialvo fires one on the huck. The wind holding it up. It goes out of bounds. Haran able to knock that one away, but would have been out of bounds anyway as Marliov was unable to reach it.
It's a great matchup, Haran and Marliov. They've worked to neutralize one another in the past. You know, neither has had a huge game against the other because they're both excellent defenders.
Gialvo taking a chance into the wind there. Erica Bacon has it for Dragon Thrust, and now a stoppage. Back into play as Bacon looks to get rid of it and does, but a drop by Anna Hetler. And now the Polar Bears take over into the wind again after the turnover by Dragon Thrust. Gialvo gets rid of it again. Not afraid of the wind. And this one taken away by Austin Lean. And Gialvo's turned it over twice, trying to heave it into the wind. Side pressure, good job by Lin Huang.
Oh, what a tee.
That's Kevin Cox leaning across the middle of that throw.
He did more than lean. He left his feet, got horizontal, diving to the sidelines.
Gialvo with the flick, too high into the wind. Federico Gialvo having some trouble dissecting the wind early on.
His third turnover of the point. The first two were basically punts, 50-50 shots that Dragon D'd up. Now they want Haran deep. He stopped his cut. And that'll be another turnover. Miscommunication between Lean and Haran.
Well, another chance for Gialvo to complete a pass. And this time he does. He gets it to Marliov. He takes the deep shot. Intended for Kevin Cox, but no chance there. Austin Lean cuts in front. And Dragon Thrust will take it from the goal line. The huck from Lean. Across the field, but Marliov tips it to the ground. Both teams taking chances here early, but...
Well, you know, Wayne, we're playing end zone to end zone, but we're not playing sideline to sideline. Maybe try to swing the disc here. Get it to the midfield. One more, Greg. There it is.
That one too high, though, and Marliov's intention for Megan Noor falls to the ground. Well, the mixed semifinal we saw yesterday in the opening minutes of this mixed final today. Been unimpressive. Diving catch there by Anna Hetler. Now for the point, Hetler guides it in to Pat Niles. He has both goals for Dragon Thrust and a 2-1 lead.
Niles, a very steady cutter for this Minneapolis Dragon Thrust team. Now, keys to the game for the offense, basically finding and creating open spaces. It's a nice, impressive throw. High release to break the mark. A lot of open space to defend, forcing flick on this near side of the field. A good put from Hetler.
It's Clark with the first goal for Dragon Thrust. Niles gets on the board here.
I think both these teams feel similarly. talking to Jake Henderson before the game. I said, did you throw too many deep shots yesterday? And he thought about it. And then he said, never. It's part of our game. I told him I could play for him.
Well, they've taken some already today. Both teams have. It's Dragon Thrust with the early start, 7-0 in group play, plus the semifinal win yesterday, 8-0 in this tournament. They already have a win over the Polar Bears. The U.S. Open Championship on the line here today. Dragon Thrust, the defending national champions.
It's interesting because they've been to the semifinals at nationals the last couple of years. You know, last year they were the 8th seed going into nationals, ended up winning it all. If anybody contemplated that perhaps it was a bit of a fluke, as a nice layout catch made by Polar Bears' Dulcie Dokken, obviously no fluke, because this is a team that has really come out and just taken care of business this weekend. Yes, they're playing at home, but they're still playing against some really top teams.
See Dokken here colliding with Claire Oakley. Ooh. As Dokken kind of fell across the knees of Oakley. Dokken getting up. She's walking off the field on her own power out of Wellington, Maine. She'll even fake a limp for you just for aesthetics on TV.
Anchi So replaces her. Anchi, a really dynamic women's player.
Some contact there, but no stoppage. No, Ruo gets rid of it.
Whenever Jay Drescher goes, there seems to be some contact.
That's true. We saw a lot of Drescher and Reshef in their battle yesterday. Nice catch there by Anchi So. Now a red zone opportunity for the Polar Bears as they swing it into Natasha Wan. And Wan gets on the board again for the Polar Bears. Back to even here in this U.S. Open Mixed Championship.
Well, some nice plays to get into the red zone, and then textbook red zone offense. Absorbing the contact. No need to call a foul and get the stoppage. Just get up. Still got plenty of time. And then just a basic dump swing. And then watch the timing of Wan, number 17. She fakes to the open side, goes to the break side, and then when that dump goes, then she goes back to the break side, and an easy around for the score.
Wan has both goals for San Francisco today.
And she's only able to go to that space because her teammates have vacated it. Anybody that made a cut earlier in that vertical stack in the end zone did a nice job clearing out to allow Wan to get that around.
PB roar. Sit on the shorts there. Polar Bears roar. And the pull attempt to Dragon Thrust. Now the offense begins for Minneapolis, the defending national champions. That's Patty King up along the sideline in midfield. Points it to Glader. Glader being forced from the side. She goes end zone. Jordan Hupp fights for position and scores.
Stall count rising here. And this is a little bit more than a punt, but basically just a Hail Mary, hoping someone would be in position to read the disc. Jamie Glader puts plenty of air underneath it. Jordan Hupp had position for a moment. It looked like it might sail over his head. Hupp, one of the workhorses for Dragon Thrust. It was funny, at Nationals last year, he had a wedding to go to on Saturday, the day of the semifinals. So they said, we're just gonna run you into the ground the first 2 days of the tournament. And they did, and he was one of their leaders in goals. They had to play the semifinal game without him. They won, and they all chipped in for an early morning ticket that Sunday morning for him to get back to Frisco and play in the championship game. And obviously, it was worth the hectic weekend because he got to wear a gold medal around his neck at the end of it.
12th goal for Hupp, tied with Clark for the team lead in this tournament. This is the group play summary. San Francisco limited to only 2 goals the entire second half.
Yeah, it was a 9-8 game, early in the second half, and then the Dragon Thrust squad just absolutely steamrolled them down the stretch. I think these two teams are much closer than that 15-9 final. I expect this to be closer today.
Nip and tuck so far as Dragon Thrust is up 3-2. Polar Bears with possession. Trying to swing it back out to Roeder, and a turnover. Now a point perhaps, and through the hands of Jake McCain. That was a gift point for Dragon Thrust. They couldn't secure it.
An opportunity for the first break. An opportunity for the upwind break. Sometimes it's good to hurry. This was one of those times. Hemish put it on the money. Unforced error from McCain.
Nice diving catch there by Morgan Paulson. Now Daniel Naruo guides it ahead. Anchi So. A red zone chance. Polar Bears trying to tie. And nudging it in for the goal to Eric Greenwood. As the Polar Bears do even it up at 3.
What a turnaround. A bad turnover near their own goal line. Hemish throws it right to McCain. He couldn't haul it in. And then downfield in a hurry. Patiently So seeks a dump. Oh, lefty backhand there. That was nice. And then the former revolver cutter, Eric Greenwood. He's been one of the leading goal scorers for the Polar Bears this weekend.
It's Clay Miller who tossed that in for San Francisco. He has 2 assists so far. Backhand leading Eric Greenwood to the score.
Greenwood, a really nice pickup for this Polar Bears squad. Very steady cutter. Reliable hands. So Dragon Thrust has to feel like they missed an opportunity. Now a downwind point. They got James Hron back out there. Austin Lean, Tallis Boyd, and Pat Niles, the other males, with Sarah Mextroff, Anna Hetler, and I believe Emily Regan.
A huck from Dragon Thrust, a hanging disc. James Hron has it.
James Hron never played Ultimate until he went to college, when he was cut from the football team at a small school in Wisconsin. But he played basketball in high school. He was an undersized post, and he said that being an undersized post in hoops has really helped him in terms of positioning on plays like this. Great focus. Staying with this disc that floated for a long time in between 2 defenders. And he's such a wide-shouldered, strong-framed kid.
Hron out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Ended up playing for one of my favorite team names in Ultimate, Ozone.
Yeah, they
EAU.
played basketball, football, and tennis in high school. After he got cut from the Eau Claire football team, his friend invited him to a Frisbee tryout / practice. And when he got there, he was skeptical, as a lot of people who aren't familiar with the sport are. And someone asked him if he had brought cleats. And that was the point where he was like, oh, you guys play with cleats? Okay, I can do this.
Austin Lean with that throw, his 16th assist of the weekend, 5th in the entire tournament. It looks like an offsides perhaps on the pole, so Dragon Thrust will have to try again.
So far, we haven't even mentioned the observers.
That's good. Less of those folks in orange we see, the better. Their only win needed.
We expanded the budget to get them their own microphone so we can hear what they have to say.
Heard plenty from them yesterday. Scott Roeder starts the possession for Polar Bears. Miller's got to get rid of it here, and he finally does. Pressure defense from up front. Jacob Lean in Roeder's face. He hucks it anyway. Deep to Kevin Cox near the goal line. Cox waits for some help, dumps it off to Miller. He has 2 assists already. We will have a stoppage quickly here as Miller and Drescher talk about it. Drescher doesn't care, so Miller puts it back into play. Trying to lead it past the orange line. Miller going to the back of the end zone. A sliding catch for Kevin Cox. And a point for Polar Bears.
Now, this is just a great example of how tough end zone defense is. Stall count got to about 7 or 8, but you're still beaten by this high release flick over Hemish's shoulder. Sometimes the key is just finding space, a pocket in the end zone at the end of a long stall count like that. Kevin Cox made eye contact with the thrower and picks up his 10th goal of the weekend.
Back and forth they go. It's been a good game. When you have 2 teams like this that know each other so well, what kind of adjustments are possible to make?
Well, you can change up matchups, you can change up defenses. And I think both these teams are looking at this game as something of an experiment to get to know each other better. It's interesting. Polar Bears has never had a coach before. It's been Greg and Anchi leading the way with some other veteran players. And then Alex Crew, who coached Wild Card last year, helped to start the Wild Card team a few years back. He moved out to the Bay Area a few months ago. He's working as getting his postdoc at Stanford in aerospace aeronautics, so he's really a dumb kid. Played at Dartmouth, graduated 2008, and basically got in touch with Greg and Anchi, and knew they didn't have a coach in the past. Said, would you be interested? And they were, and they had some conversations. And I think he's still sort of getting to know his personnel and figuring out exactly who can do what. They've picked up some new guys, some new players who have played in the past have returned. So they're still very much a work in progress, but this is the type of team that is a work in progress. They're consistently in the semis and the finals. That just shows the type of ceiling that they have.
2 losses in this tournament, one of them to Dragon Thrust, the other to Wild Card, who we saw yesterday getting knocked out of the tournament by Dragon Thrust in the semifinals. A 13-11 win yesterday of the Chad Larson experience. They needed a 1-point win over Union to even make it to the semifinals. Here are the Polar Bears with a chance to win the U.S. Open as they pull it to Dragon Thrust in a tie game.
Alex Crew, the Polar Bears coach, coached Wild Card in the past, talked to the Wild Card guys, try to get a little insight on Dragon Thrust, and basically what they said is Wild Card just couldn't score downwind. And remember early in that game, they just couldn't take advantage of the early chances, and now here's Polar Bears' first good chance for a break.
Adam Rady will flip it in, a red zone chance after a turnover. Rady with the nudge to Sonny Zaccaro. He flicks it toward the goal line. Still need another throw, though. Eric Greenwood goes for it and finds it. To Anchi So, and Polar Bears have the lead.
The first upwind score, also the first break of the game. Keeping the disc with their sure-handed D-line contributors. And here's the mistake. That throw just popped up. Pursued near the sideline by Chang. Anchi So finishing the score. Went to Smith undergrad. She didn't play there. Started playing overseas, traveling around China and England, and played with the Pie Queens at Cal 2006.
Five goals this weekend for Anchi So.
See her wearing that mouth guard. She's had a bunch of head injuries in the past, including one from snowboarding.
She's even got the head guard on to go with the mouthpiece.
She's a fighter.
Looks like she's ready to spar a few rounds right now. Dragon Thrust now trailing. It's Austin Lean swinging it out to Bacon. Dragon Thrust going backward now. Pressure D as they go all the way back into their own end zone. There's Braun in the middle. Kane with a heavy fake. Now he's going to launch it. A man open, but a great D by Adam Rady as the disc hung a little bit. Pat Niles was there for a minute, but Rady cuts it off and now hucks it deep. Rady with a man open. Kevin Cox and the point for Polar Bears as Kevin Cox handles the long huck from Rady. It's a 2-goal lead for San Francisco.
This sequence from Adam Rady is awesome. He could be one of the best players in the mixed division. I mean, it's a sensational D, but even before this throw, full field, perfect float. Kevin Cox runs it down. The D was even more impressive than the throw, in my opinion. He did not have great position, but he pursued it relentlessly and able to rise up. Look at that, he timed his leap perfectly. Rady's a big dude. Kevin Cox, more of a squirrely cutter type.
2 goals today for Kevin Cox, 11 on the weekend. For Rady, a 6'2", 29-year-old. That was a launch. From one side of the field to the other. As the Polar Bears get ahead by 2, they're on a 3-0 run. Now Chialvo will do the honors of the pull to Dragon Thrust. Suddenly, Minneapolis, undefeated in this tournament, staring uphill. That thing might float for a day, this win today.
Drescher, who had been playing D, is out there offensively after the 3-0 Polar Bears run.
Haven't seen Sarah Mexstroth do much today. She was pretty big in yesterday's game. Sarah Ancio as well. A stoppage here.
You can have a contested travel, or you can come to me.
Traveling was called against Alicia Carr.
You have a contested travel. Okay. Travel, test, 6.
All it really causes is a reset. Not many true penalties.
The stall count came in at 6, so she's running out of time.
And now time is called.
May have been a violation downfield where a cutter or a defender left the spot early. So the stall is going to come back in on 6.
Mitch Dangler, our head observer today. Hank Carey, Sam Wood, and Warren Wells flanking him. As Carr gets rid of it to Jay Drescher. He's been quiet today. Tallis Boyd. First 4 letters in his name are T-A-L-L. He's 6'5".
His parents knew something.
Maybe they were 6'5". Klink along the sideline, guiding it in, and with a juggling catch, it's still alive for Dragon Thrust. Back to Alicia Carr to handle it. May not stay with her as there's a stoppage here.
The defender, Ellen Zwickel, looked to call a pick. And when you call a pick, you need to be within 10 feet of the person you're guarding.
Okay. Okay. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Did you see it? It's coming back. It was a number of counts before your stall. What do you last remember saying? Okay. I was way before that. We'll come in on 5. Does that work for both of you? Saying stalling 5. Wait until everyone's set.
So the stall count will pick up at 5 for Show and Rock as we look at the observers who track the time limits, resolve these player disputes. You can even knock players out of the game at this point. We haven't seen any of that in this tournament. That would really be against the spirit of the game if it came down to that, as Carr has to get rid of it. Not their intended target, but it works anyway. As Klink ends up with it for Dragon Thrust. He sides it out Drescher's way, and it either curved unexpectedly or Chialvo got in the way. Already on a 3-0 run, Polar Bears trying to add to it, but Show and Rock slaps that disc down as Dragon Thrust will take over. Now Dave Klink cucks it. End zone for Show and Rock. A tumbling catch. Question is it a goal? It is. Brian Show and Rock with a whirling grab on the goal line. Over the D from Bob Madden to make it a 1-goal game.
This was maybe a 60-40 shot. And Strings timed his jump perfectly, absorbed the contact. Give him a free throw and 1.
A 6'4" Madden there against the 6'1" Show and Rock.
On that last shot, it looked like it might have been a straddle. It was hard to tell if his 2 feet came down at the same time, with one of them being outside the end zone, but certainly a big goal for Minneapolis to squelch that 3-zip run from San Francisco.
Again, 1st to 8 sends this game to halftime. 1st to 15 becomes U.S. Open mixed champions. Last year, Minneapolis beating San Francisco in the Club National Mixed Championship game. Polar Bears know how to get to this point. It remains to be seen if they actually know how to win it at this point. Klink with the assist there is 15th, right behind Lean for the team lead. As Roeder let it drop out of bounds. Smart move by Roeder on the pull. Saw it was awfully close to the out of bounds line, and that means a chance up at the brick mark as the Polar Bears will begin this possession with better field position than anticipated. Clay Miller will check it in for San Francisco.
Sort of a staggered horizontal stack here from the Polar Bears. Anchi So and Daniel Naruo, the primary cutters in the middle. Neither able to shake the defender. Now Naruo finally does.
Going deep, cutting toward the sideline and making the catch, Garrett Greenwood. Red zone chance for Polar Bears. Forcing it in to Anchi So. And a goal for San Francisco.
A good put from Naruo. Greenwood, make sure he's alert as to where he is on the field. And then takes his time, gets the good pivot, and gets it around Haran into the hands of So. Jake Henderson probably will talk a little bit about transition defense. You know, sort of a scramble after the deep shot to Greenwood. Wow, apparently Anchi So is going to be a photo superstar.
6 goals this weekend, 2 today for Anchi So. And Polar Bears a point away from sending this game to halftime. Great effort from them in this first half as they traded goals early on with Dragon Thrust. But a 3-0 lead, rather a 3-0 run, helped San Francisco take the lead. Now the pull to Dragon Thrust. Minneapolis in need of a goal. Blaine swings it back. They guide it to Patty King. Now Tallis Boyd gets into it. Mike Clark gets it knocked away. Good defense by Marliov. Now Polar Bears on halftime point.
Unless I'm mistaken, Polar Bears are going to get the disc to start the second half. So this would be a tremendous score right here to break up wind. They'd have a great chance to go up 9-5 to start the second half if they could finish this one.
B.D. Chang flips it into Gormley. Red zone chance for Polar Bears, trying to send this game to halftime. Gormley looking to dump it, he does. That's Rady looking for the point, they get it. Greg Marliov finishes up the first half for the Polar Bears. A big run at the end of the half, an 8-5 lead.
Marliov, the leader of this team. Alex Crew told me that he feels that Marliov's mental game is underappreciated, a real process-oriented guy, a great leader. He got the hand block on the mark, and then Rady zips it up line to Marliov, who timed his break side cut perfectly. Dragon Thrust on the ropes a little bit right now. Now they're going to have to pull to begin the second half. They've been broken upwind twice. Greg Marliov's Polar Bears looking very stout again.
A 5-1 run to end the first half for Polar Bears. An 8-5 cushion over Dragon Thrust at halftime in Minnesota. (8-5) as San Francisco has the lead over Minneapolis. And we visit with the head coach of Dragon Thrust here at halftime, Jake Henderson. And coach, started off being just a trade of goals there, but a 5-1 run for Polar Bears. What led to that?
Yeah, a couple breaks upwind, a little bit tough. I think they want a little bit more. We got to come out of half wanting it more than them.
Jake, how big of a point is this first D point to begin the second half for you?
It's big. We love our D-line. We go on D runs all the time. That's what we're known for. So we're ready for it. It's a big point, and it's upwind, but we're looking forward to the break train.
How do you get your team to want it more?
They want it. We've been in this position before, even at this tournament, actually. They'll want it. They got it. We came out a little bit rough. Maybe that's my bad. We'll want it.
Jake Henderson, head coach of Dragon Thrust. Good luck.
Thanks.
Halftime here in Minnesota. It's Polar Bears looking for the U.S. Open Championship. The mixed final, it's 8-5 San Francisco. 8-5, Polar Bears have the lead, trying to win the U.S. Open Championship for the second time in 3 years as we visit with the head coach of Polar Bears, Alex Crew. And coach, you take over a team that has been either the national champion or national champion runner-up every year they've existed. So how easy is this for you to watch this team go out and win?
Well, it's a lot of fun, but really, I think part of the thing that's gotten the team so far in the past is they've been very process-focused, and that continues right now. we know that our season isn't going to be defined by how we do at the U.S. Open, but it's the lessons we learned today, all weekend, what we've seen, and what we carry forward with us for the season. So, a lot of that pre-exists, and I'm very pleased to see that so far.
Alex, been really impressed in your end zone offense. When you guys get into the red zone, you go that vertical stack. At what point in the stall count do you tell them to look for a dump?
That's actually, one of the things that's nice about having very experienced players is that they're very good at instinctively recognizing in that end zone that, being conservative, that there's going to be opportunities and they don't need to force it. So actually, there's surprising little coaching on that end.
Alex Crew, the head coach of Polar Bears. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
It's 8-5 as San Francisco has the lead over Minneapolis. Coming up, we'll have the second half for you in this mixed championship in Minnesota. A pretty well played first half here in Minnesota as these two teams got off to pretty good starts on both ends.
Yeah, we were on serve for the first portion of the half. Dragon thrust going downwind. Deep shot to the end zone there. Little flip over the top. Anna Hetler picks up the assist. And then airing it out, Austin Lean lets go the big backhand. And watch how James Ron pursues this disc. He just wanted it more than the two guys he was sandwiched between. Nice read for the score, but unfortunately that was the lone highlight for Ron. Polar Bears offense in gear early. Natasha Wan, the first of her 2 scores, timing her deep cuts well. Here's the other one, the end zone offense we discussed with Alex Crew. Just a nice patient dump swing score, textbook. This one not as textbook, but it still worked out. Flip over the top to Kevin Cox. And at the end of the half, these upwind breaks were the difference. Eric Greenwood to Sow in the end zone. That was the first break. And then Adam Rady to Greg Marliov to take half. A bookends point. Marliov had the hand block and the score to help the Polar Bears take half 8-5.
Juan, Cox, and So all with 2 goals each. Miller had 3 assists in the first half. Greenwood had 2 for the Polar Bears. Klink with a couple for Dragon Thrust. 5 goals from 5 different players for Minneapolis. And now the second half about to begin here in Blaine, Minnesota, as the home team, Dragon Thrust, trying to win the U.S. Open on their own turf. Got off to a good start. Certainly this tournament has belonged to them, 8-0. But they'll need to play from behind in this second half as Jay Drescher will pull it to Polar Bears. And you mentioned at the end of the first half, Evan, that San Francisco comes out and scores here. That's a massive point in their favor.
Yeah, for the Minneapolis team, Dragon Thrust, you could get an upwind break here, then you come back downwind, then all of a sudden you're back within 1. On the other hand, Polar Bears could take a 4-point lead and really just be 6 scores away. Pivotal point as the second half begins. We heard Jake Henderson say he loves his D-line. David Shirley on the mark. Jacob Lean chasing Scott Roeder. Jordan Hupp also out there. He's played more offense, but Hupp and Drescher both going to the D-line. And what a layout made by Clay Miller to keep the possession alive for the Polar Bears.
Polar Bears trying to work it upfield with an 8-5 lead. They ended the first half on a 5-0 run. Having a tough time getting it past midfield. Good job there by Roeder. A low line drive throw that falls to the turf. That one barely got off the ground. Mike Clark, the intended target.
And give the credit there to the defender. Jacob Lean on the mark, really provided the pressure.
That one got some air under it. Drescher gives it a chance, but Drescher.
And that was a bit of a reckless bid by Jay Drescher.
Climbing over Daniel Naruo.
Thankfully, they're both all right. That's the kind of play that could get him a TMF. Really didn't have any chance to make a play on the disc here, and he just goes right through the back. And then he lands on top of him, adding insult to injury.
What's a TMF?
Team misconduct foul. Assessed for dangerous plays like that.
Some contact there, feet getting tangled up. Doesn't look like any foul will be called, though, and a chance for Dragon Thrust to get possession back as Hupp and Greenwood got tangled.
Wayne, one thing to keep in mind is, Polar Bears had an 8-6 lead at the half yesterday in their semifinal against CLX. And the Chad Larson Experience scored for 4 of the first 5 in the second half to take a lead 11-10.
Drescher airs it down the Huck. Going deep for Sarah Mexstroth. And right on the sideline, Mexstroth makes the sliding catch. She zings it in for the end zone and the score.
That's what Minneapolis needed. David Shirley from Sarah Mexstroth. The hockey assist goes to Jay Drescher. It's an instant replay of what we saw yesterday. Drescher going upwind, just bombs away. A barbaric backhand, and right near the sideline, getting those knees in bounds, Mexstroth.
Didn't see Sarah Mexstroth really on the field much in the first half. She was a big part of their game yesterday.
She's been matched up with Anchi So. 2 good players. Mexstroth has a little bit more size, though. She started playing her senior year of high school. I mean, she's been on the team 3 years, and she's only 22 years old. She was an athlete when she joined the team, but her decision-making and D have improved, and we saw it there in terms of the decision-making near the goal line. Now, you catch the disc, you're so close. A lot of times you can, take too risky of a shot. And that time she was able to elude the defenders and get it to Shirley.
So Dragon Thrust gets the break. They pull within 2. It's a 5-1 run from Polar Bears that ended the first half. First of 15 wins. Mixed championship at the U.S. Open. Polar Bears going deep. Knocked away. The interception from Claire Oakley.
Certainly looks like Dragon Thrust wants it here in the second half.
That's James Hron, a former football player. The Hawk with positioning, going for the leaping try in the end zone and making the catch. Brian Schoenrock to make it a 1-goal game.
Anchi So's a really good player, but Schoenrock versus So is a mismatch. Clay Miller got there too late. Mike Peterson shoots the J, going deep. That's what you want from a flick huck. You want to have some angle. You wanted to have some hang time. He liked the matchup, and Schoenrock makes the play. And just like that, it's a 1-score game.
Schoenrock 2 goals today, 9 this weekend. Minneapolis falling behind in the first half, jumping out strong in the second. And first of 15 claims this U.S. Open title. Was Dragon Thrust scoring a win over the Polar Bears in the championship last year at Club Nationals.
Jay Drescher to pull. One of the guys for Dragon Thrust that was so important last year that we haven't mentioned, Jeff Trosvig, broke his leg at pickup in April. Just got the boot off, still on crutches. They're hopeful that he'll be able to give them something at the offensive handler spot at Worlds. Still to be determined, but he's an incredible thrower. Great velocity to his flick that we saw in Frisco last fall.
Okay, foul, contest.
Worlds are coming up next month in Italy. What's that tournament like?
You know, I wish I knew from firsthand experience. I only know from talking to a lot of guys and girls who have played in it. But they say it's a completely different feel from nationals. You know, being there is amazing, and just all the different cultures coming together, great spirit. It's a longer tournament. You play fewer games every day, so it's stretched out, and you really just get to enjoy the experience. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to Lecco next month, but maybe 4 years from now. It's on the bucket list for sure.
Adam Rady up ahead. Where's the one after that? Have they decided?
You know, I don't know.
My ruling is not a travel. It'll be here on 1.
Quick stoppage of traveling was called, but will not be upheld.
The World Beach Championships are coming up next spring, I think in Dubai, which would probably be an interesting experience to go play on the beach in the UAE for a while.
That's Chialvo looking to dump it. Keeps it instead. Now slips it back to Adam Rady. Rady fires it forward.
Unless there's somebody in Italy watching this who wants me to come on over, they could, you know, might be able to make it work.
A lot of friendly people there. As Marliov gets up on the sideline looking for the point, too high. Still alive though, and it's incomplete. Diving effort in the end zone by Marissa Mead. Now Dragon Thrusts can tie. They've scored the last 2, the first 2 of this second half. Mextra dumps it back to Bacon. She hands it off right away. That's Hemish, handling machine that he was yesterday.
Coming in on 2.
Josh
We're ready when you are. Coming in on 2.
a quiet kid, works with computers, but just I mean, he never stops running.
Fires this one Mextrop's way. Trying to box out, and Rady comes in and steals it at the last moment. And Mextrop not happy about that. She's calling for a foul.
Mextrop seems pretty fervent about it. That was just another amazing athletic play from Brady. Let's see, was this a foul?
You guys happy with the contested foul, or would you like to observe a ruling?
That's not a foul.
Okay, my ruling is that you had the disc first, therefore the foul happened because she pushed you in here. It's still going to be yours, and I'm 1.
Brady showing incredible athleticism there. That was something else. Stoppage here.
Contact on the mark. No contest, coming in on 0.
I think we have a positioning question here. So they want you deep right away. We're good? When you're ready, you may tap it in.
After the D by Rady, possession here, and Rady
Moving beforehand.
frustrated by the stoppages.
Nothing. It's as if the restart never happened. All right. I think we're good.
That's off the hand of Meany Chang. And now Dragon Thrust can tie.
Some indecisiveness there from Erica Bacon. She nearly picked it up. Decided to let somebody else take a lean instead.
Drescher. He gets tripped. Drescher doesn't mind getting dirty out there. As Robert Gormley got his way.
You guys happy with that? Hey, you happy with that?
Some guys just are able to endure more punishments. And I mean, he punishes his own body, and he still comes through to throw the score, although there was a call.
Well, this one looks like it's going to come back. Jacob Lean catching that one.
It is a violation. It goes back. Yes.
So no score there. And Drescher will have to try again.
Yeah, you're good there.
Red zone chance for Dragon Thrust. They'll tap it back in, and Drescher will look to tie it. Lean tried to tip it in, and he does! A diving catch by David Shirley after the tip by Jacob Lean.
Well, there's no way that was intentional, but it worked out.
I don't know, kind of looked intentional. Well, maybe not, but
it's great awareness from David Shirley. It may look intentional, but Lean was trying to catch this. Looked like he was going to call a strip. And he never had the disc. He certainly never stopped rotation. Impressive stylistically. And now a 3-0 run out of the gates to begin the second half to tie things 8-all. This is a game to 7 now. Alex Crew, the Polar Bears coach, was worried about some tip discs like that, and just saying that, you know, the good teams make their own luck. And the Polar Bears all weekend long have had great awareness. They never give up on the play like we saw from Shirley right there.
Both teams have had 3-0 runs, and for Dragon Thrust, theirs comes to start the second half. And it's all even in this mixed championship at the U.S. Open. First to 15 wins the title. And now it's Polar Bears that need a point. Roeder guides it ahead to Greenwood. Greenwood trying to pin it back to Miller. After a bobble, Miller's got it. Pitches it to Juan. Juan points it back to Greenwood. Anchiso zings it to Juan. Now back to midfield. Juan looking for the point. Look, there might have been some contact. A diving catch anyway. Here we go, Juan! Just a little short, as Daniel Naruo got awfully close to that one, but didn't quite have it.
It's an aggressive throw from Juan. And that disc was clearly trapped. Naruo stopped his deep cut. Juan ended up putting a really nice throw, but the hesitation costly. And a costly poach made by Naruo.
Dragon Thrust looking for a 4-0 run, and the lead to start the second half.
Beautiful put from Strings. Off the turnover at the front of one end zone. They work it upfield beautifully. Cron underneath. And then Hupp. Naruo caught poaching. Over to Schoenrock. And then the deep shot for Sarah Ancio, the rookie, on Dragon Thrust. Timeout called by the Polar Bears.
A 4-0 run for Dragon Thrust to begin this second half. Normally when you see a timeout, just the players on the field huddle together, but both teams dragging everybody into this one. As we watch this 2014 Mixed Championship, we take you back to the 1981 World Frisbee Championships on ESPN. From the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, a little look in the vault of ESPN as back in the early days, Sport of Ultimate, really the early days for both the Sport of Ultimate and for ESPN.
And, you know, made the mistake yesterday by mentioning the Discraft Ultra Star. Certainly it's a great disc, but I think here they're probably using the original Whammo, which, you know, flew a little bit differently. Everybody loves the Discraft Ultra Star. It's great stability, 175-gram sport disc. Really all I know in terms of playing Ultimate. Great footage.
That's some nice stuff there, all the way back to the 1981 squad. Any second-generation players out there?
I'm sure. I'm sure. You know, really, the folks who start playing the game at a young age typically either grow up in one of the ultimate hotbeds, like Seattle, or they have a parent who played, like perhaps a guy like Ashlyn Joy, whose father Steve was a great player. Ashlyn Joy, will see him in Revolver against Johnny Bravo in the men's final later today.
And with the women's championship coming up at 1:30 Eastern, rather at 2:30 Eastern, the men's championship at 5 Eastern on ESPN 3. It should be a great time here later. Seattle Riot against Boston Brute Squad on the women's side. The matchup of Revolver and Johnny Bravo on the men's. After that pull, they're going to bring the disc all the way up to midfield. How come?
Might have been a second offsides. It's also possible that couldn't tell if the Dragon Throws player hit the disc before it hit the ground, which is a violation.
So great field position for Polar Bears.
It looked like
he made the call.
Roeder was ready to catch it, and then he saw the disc make that funky movement from the wind and thought, I should back away. Because if you try to catch the pull and drop it, it's a turnover. Which unfortunately happens to all of us at some point or another. Hopefully just once or twice. Pretty embarrassing to drop a pull.
Polar Bears looking for their first goal of the second half. Dragon Thrust has scored 4 in the meantime. Showed you that graphic earlier from the last time these two teams played earlier in this tournament. And Polar Bears only scored twice the entire second half.
Nice lefty backhand from Roeder.
Juan right on the goal line, fires it in. And San Francisco on the board. Morgan Polson makes it even again.
A little lefty backhand got this chain started. Morgan Paulson, second-year member of the Polar Bears. From Natasha Juan, who's been with this team quite a while, since the beginning, in fact.
Miller, 3 assists for San Francisco. Minneapolis has 8 different players with goals, but the story here is the back and forth nature of this game. The lead has changed twice. It's been tied at 6 different points, including now at 9-9 after Dragon Thrust has gone on quite a run to start this second half. It was a Polar Bears run, a 5-1 run to end the first half.
We were tied at 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. And then San Francisco made the run, and now tied again at 8s and 9s. Still a long way to go in this one, but important for Dragon Thrust to take care of business on the offensive point going downwind.
And using the wind to his advantage is Klink. A wide open target. Now across the field and a goal. Leaping into the end zone, Anna Hetler.
You don't see a guy like Greg Marliov get this lost defensively very often. Now this was sort of a desperation fling from Klink. And you know, Marliov just got completely spun around. Haran didn't have to do all that much. And a well-placed floaty backhand for Hetler.
Polar Bears trying to win the U.S. Open title for the second time in 3 years. Dragon Thrust has never won it, but they are the defending club national champions. And with this U.S. Open right in their backyard, hoping for an opportunity to stake their claim in a U.S. Open title.
Well, it's funny, the team from Minneapolis has really surged into the conversation as a perennial top team in the mixed division. Last year at Nationals was the first time since 2010 that there weren't two mixed teams from San Francisco in the finals. You had Polar Bears, Blackbird, Mischief. A lot of good other teams from the Bay Area, so much talent in the region.
Those kids from Montreal last year. As we take a look at our schedule later today, 2:30 Eastern, Boston versus Seattle in the women's championship. The men's title, Johnny Bravo against San Francisco Revolver at 5 Eastern. Plenty of great ultimates still to come on ESPN 3. Polar Bears having to play this one from deep in their own end zone.
Heck of a pull.
Morgan Paulson trying to get it out. Instead has to go back to Miller. Patience from Polar Bears. Now Ruo flings it up ahead. Sideline toss to Kevin Cox. Huck for the end zone. Hanging in the air, and it falls behind Ruo. He got turned around there in the end zone. Actually, A.J. Shankar, who got turned around.
Hemish with a great job catching up. You can see the separation that just popped up at the last moment. And Shankar's hesitation cost him.
So now a chance for Dragon Thrust already with a big second half. A 5-1 run. Nice.
Oh,
great D by Clay Miller, sticking his foot out to stop the disc.
Ouch.
And Miller goes right into the end zone. He guides Daniel Noruo for the tying point. Our 7th tie of the day. And Miller fired up.
A foot block like that will fire you up. Jake McCain. If I'm Jake McCain's teammate right now, I go over to him to make sure he keeps his confidence and say, we need you down the stretch. Keep doing your thing. Because you get foot block like that, and that lingers in the back of your mind. It's the perfect time extension of the leg.
So now 10-10. Soft cap will go off in about 13 minutes, which could limit the amount of points needed to win today. Right now, as it stands, it's game to 15. Clay Miller's had a big day, 4 assists, plus that great D on the foot block. 7 ties, couple of lead changes. Exciting championship in the mixed bracket. Wouldn't be surprised if this one came down to a universe point.
Not at all. Well, the team from Toronto in the mixed division, Union, the Canadian champs last year.
Oh, a block, and it stays alive for Polar Bears. A chance at the goal line again. It was Greenwood with the block. It's Greenwood with the goal. And it's an 11-10 lead for San Francisco.
Gotta love the confidence from Adam Rady with a lefty backhand. So they throw a little bit of a junk look. Trying to get over the top of that cup. Monster middle, Eric Greenwood. And then Rady with a lefty backhand. That team from Toronto, Union, played 7 games in pool play. 5 of them were decided by 1 point. I mean, that was really the story in the mixed division. They went 2-3 in those games, went 3-4 overall.
Greenwood and Marissa Mead with a nice celebration there.
I think they're dating.
2 goals today for Greenwood. 13 this weekend.
Marissa Mead played for Nemesis last year. Elite women's team in Chicago. We'll see a lot of former Nemesis stars in the women's final coming up. Root Squad has a bunch. Kelly Johnson, the most notable Nemesis pickup for Seattle Riot.
Dragon thrust has fallen behind, and now another turnover.
Offensively falling apart.
Last couple of goals for San Francisco. Their possession started right on the goal line. A little deeper this time, but still a red zone chance from the get-go. Rady flips it in, and now Cox looks for the end zone. Another goal, 3 in a row for Polar Bears. It's Marliov to give San Francisco a 2-goal lead.
You sense that Jake Henderson's going to take a timeout, and it looks like he is. He's going to bring everybody together.
What is happening to Dragon thrust on offense?
And just poor concentration with the resets. And then, you know, when you make a turn here, you're in a tough spot. One of the things Jake Henderson told me about Minneapolis' effort from yesterday, he didn't think their marks were that great. And you saw there, after that initial break, there really wasn't much pressure put on the thrower. An easy shot to Marliov. And they're feeling good.
All the confidence on San Francisco's side. PB roar indeed.
Now this is a timeout about mental toughness here for Dragon Thrust. And they're going to be receiving, going downwind. You can only score one at a time, but over these last few points, it began with this foot block by Clay Miller. And things have sort of spiraled from there. Miller with a quick pickup and into the end zone for Naru at the other end. 3-man cut, knocked down by the monster middle. And Adam Brady, the lefty backhand, taps it in with the right, throws with the left. That's the key break. And now another break, although this one going downwind. Austin Lean really didn't get much of a mark on there. He cut off the around, but it's an easy open side throw to Marliov.
San Francisco Polar Bears, national champions in 2010. Runners-up in each of the last 3 years, including against Dragon Thrust last year. They were outscored 4-0 to start this half. It's been a 4-1 run ever since, including each of the last 3 goals.
It's almost exactly what happened yesterday in their semifinal against CLX. CLX scored 4 of the first 5 points to take an 11-10 lead. And then Polar Bears responded with 4 of the next 5 to win it 13-9.
Their pole goes out of bounds.
Excuse me, 13-11, sorry.
So up to the brick mark goes Dragon Thrust. It's Tom Watson, the Grizzly look, the 1981 look, if you will. Brick, the spot where the play is initiated after a pull goes out of bounds. That's where Dragon Thrust begins this. Lean into traffic, a big collision in the end zone. Tom Watson and Jacob Lean colliding big time.
Well, Klink stumbled.
Yeah, Klink was the intended target to begin with.
And then Jacob Lean. And it looks like a foul that could be a strip, that could be a goal.
Lean and Watson talk about it. We'll see what the observers rule.
Okay, so there's 2 fouls on the player coming to the observer, so the foul was called. It's coming to the observer. You called a strip, right? It was not a strip. There's no foul.
Wow.
So you're calling a foul. Are you guys going to settle it here, or do you want to go to the observer? Okay. Contested foul. Disc comes back here.
So the foul on Polar Bears against Klink
Okay. Foul your disc.
will put the disc back to where Klink was. No foul in the end zone, though.
It's good. It's good.
If Lean would have called contact instead of a strip, would that have changed things? Is it because he called a strip that there was no foul?
You know, the disc doesn't need to be hit for it to be considered a strip.
But I'm saying if he, because he called a strip instead of just contact.
It might have been different, yeah. It might have been different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can, basically a strip is a foul. So if you call foul instead of strip, it's all encompassing.
Hemish tries to burn it in, and he does.
Yeah, they deserve that point. Jordan Huff is there.
Back to a one-goal game again. As Dragon Thrust breaks the chain from Polar Bears, it was a 3-0 run. Hemish with that low flip.
Well, if Minnesota's going to win this game, they're going to have to score up, win once. They're probably going to have to do it twice.
Thank you. They're good. One more. Just one more.
Soft cap in about 5 minutes could make this a game to 14. Right now, 15, the magic number for the U.S. Open. A glance along the line of Polar Bears as they try to uproot Dragon Thrust, a team that hasn't lost yet in this tournament. As Drescher lets this disc rip. A pivotal point begins in this championship game. And it goes out of bounds from the brick mark. San Francisco will begin this possession.
Clay Miller, Scott Roeder, Daniel Naruo on the offensive line, and the first cut made by Eric Greenwood.
Might come back, though, as a stoppage occurs.
Out there with Anchi So, Natasha Wan, and Morgan Paulson.
Miller will tap it back in, and away they go on this point attempt. As Polar Bears leads 12-11, it's been back and forth. Some major runs for both teams. And another stoppage here as the observers come running in. It's been a little slower paced in this second half.
Hey, I want 03, X2, 1, X2, 1. Be ready! Head on the swivel, Sarah!
Miller floats it in, and now Naruo trying to work around Drescher. Fires it ahead to Natasha Wan. Wan thinking about end zone, goes low instead. Anchi So keeps it alive. Red zone opportunity for Polar Bears, looking to go up by 2. So fires it in. And San Francisco may not have a point. It looked like they did. Clay Miller with the catch, but it's going to come back.
It's a championship grab by Anchi So, laying out up line.
It's not whether it's involved, it's whether his play was actually effective. If he couldn't have gotten the disc, it's going to stay. If he could have. But, yeah. Could you have gotten to the disc without that's all you need?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know.
Okay. Do you know?
So my ruling is there is a chance the white player could have made a play. I'm going to uphold the pick, okay?
I don't.
Well, it's coming.
I don't doubt that.
It's
So
coming
it's a
back.
comeback. Yeah.
Yep. That's fine.
Pick
That's
was
fine.
called and
Let's go.
upheld, so
What's our
they
spot?
will bring the disc
Okay, we'll put it
back.
in 6 then.
Yep,
Don't
and you
you
have a step
so.
on him. Yep, like this.
I
Yep.
think that's a good call.
Y'all happy? Where you are?
Big moment here as Polar Bears try to go up 2. Swing it out. Naruo, now Miller. Miller with a bunch of assists in this game.
A collision, 2 Dragon Thrust players down in the end zone.
Play halted again as Schoenrock.
Got tangled up with Alicia Carr, his teammate. They're both okay, though. May have been a pick called, reason for the stoppage. And there's the soft cap. So after this point, you'll add 2 to the higher score.
Trying to play to 15, might still be that way, especially if this point goes through, and it does. Eric Greenwood. So now it's officially game to 15, and the Polar Bears 2 points from the U.S. Open Championship.
See Greenwood just bursting out of the stack. And Clay Miller was fired up after letting that throw go. Bouncing to the end zone to celebrate.
Clay Miller has been a major player in this game.
Eric Greenwood as well. And his Polar Bears are feeling good. They've had their mojo going. A slow start to the second half, but they've certainly rediscovered their stride.
What does this win, if they do claim this U.S. Open title and they beat Dragon Thrust, who has taken care of them in the past, what does it do for their confidence and their demeanor moving forward?
Well, it makes the flight back home nicer. The prize money comes in handy, especially with the expensive Italy coming up. But I think, you know, more so it's a regular season win against one of your rivals. You know, circumstances change as the season progresses. The Brooklyn Nets won 4 regular season games from the Miami Heat this year. Didn't work out so well in the Eastern Conference semifinals. So it's not a be-all, sit-all type thing, but certainly you're playing today, you want to win. And to win the U.S. Open is, in just the 3rd year, a prestigious achievement as well.
Coming up, 2:30 Eastern, Boston Brute Squad, Seattle Riot in the women's final. Denver, Johnny Bravo, San Francisco Revolver at 5 Eastern in the men's final. All of it today on ESPN 3. Marliov on the pull.
Let's go, baby!
Dragon Thrust. Trying to pull within 1 again. This game goes to 15.
On this offensive line, it's Austin Lean, Clark, Klink, Hron, Mextroth, with Glader and Bacon.
That's James Hron, now Mextroth. Red zone chance as Dragon Thrust broke through the cup. They'll swing it back out. Erica Bacon. Nice cut as Dave Klink makes the catch along the sideline. Klink spins it end zone, it's caught. Austin Lean. Big point for Minneapolis.
Sometimes young throwers, especially when they get near the end zone, get a little tunnel vision and forget to pivot, which expands their field of vision. You could hear from the Dragon Thrust sideline saying, "Pivot, Dave," and he heard him, and he does. And that's what opens up that throwing lane. Nearly popped over the head of Lean, but he's able to haul it in. If you're a young thrower, even if you don't have any plans of breaking the mark, pivot across your body. Step to the right, back to the left, bam. Even much more important if you're being marked flick and you have a handler defender that doesn't respect your step around backhand. Even if you're not confident in that break throw, you take one giant step across your body as far as you can, and that forces the defender to mark you differently.
David Klink, Austin Lean, each tied for the team lead with 16 assists, tied for 5th in this tournament. Alyssa Lundgren of the Toronto Union squad with 24. Game to 15 and Polar Bears taking over possession. We've been tied 7 different times today. Maybe a little contact as Paulson got twisted up. Alicia Carr and Paulson's disc space. It looks like a stoppage will occur again as Natasha Wan unable to get rid of it. Now she flings it ahead to Cox, now Roeder. Roeder looking to zoom it deep. Laying out, unable to make the catch. A great effort by Daniel Naruo. He was very close to an incredible play.
At some point here, Roeder just made eye contact, and Naruo took off. Did all he could. If that disc doesn't just pop up an inch or so at the last moment, right there, perhaps he can haul it in.
Dragon thrust can tie. They go for a deep puck near the end zone, right at the goal line. It's caught by Hupp.
Take your time here, Dragon.
Hupp's gonna flip it back as Drescher helps reset. He calls a timeout.
Interesting. You can understand they want to call the timeout. This is a really important point. But Jay Drescher basically had Anchi So on the mark and another Dragon Thrust male defender nearby. There was a mismatch around the field. If he could have swung the disc, they would have exploited it. They still have an opportunity here to tie and set up their red zone play as they seek their first ever US Open title. Polar Bears won it a couple years ago, losing last year to Montreal Odyssey, led by the great playmaking of Jean Levy Champagne, Christian Mathieu.
I just like to say Odyssey.
They were fun to watch, man. They played with great energy and passion. And they communicate on the field in a language that most of us don't understand. Got to tell the story real quick. I was up in Montreal last weekend, and I picked up with a local club team there on Sunday. And at one point I'm playing a game, and somebody's stalling me in French. And I think I'm good about 1 through 5. Yeah, what's 6 through 10? I heard a number that I wasn't sure of, and I got really afraid of what the stall count was, so I just let up this Blady flick. It fortunately was complete, but hashtag ultimate problems.
Tweet 9, 10. 8, 9, 10. Drescher.
I need to learn.
To Hupp. A foot down, it looked like.
Observer called him out.
And they did rule him out of bounds, so now Polar Bears get a big break. We'll have to check a replay when we can because that was very close. Hawks overthrows and Alicia Carr's got it. Dragon thrust trying to tie. Schoenrock slows it down. Swings it to Drescher. He pitches it deep. And in the traffic, a confusing moment for Dragon Thrust between Schoenrock and Mexstroth, although it looks like we're going to have a foul anyway.
Well, that should have been caught by a couple different Dragon Thrust players.
Okay, contested foul. What was this talk now?
Watch where Jordan Hupp's foot lands. If any part of his foot's on the line, it's not a score.
Stalling 2.
Coming in on 2.
Looked like he was right on that orange line.
You guys just resolved
Close.
it. You're bringing it on 2.
Hard to tell completely from that angle.
Got to trust the observer there. He had a better view than we did.
They missed a couple yesterday. I don't know how trustworthy they are. Drescher along the sideline, trying to tie it up. Goes to the back of the end zone and out of bounds. Clearly that time too far for Schoenrock.
The third turnover in the end zone. Just on this point.
Game to 15. A game that has been decided on runs from both teams. Roeder zooms it to Paulson. Stoppage here as Paulson now puts it back into play. And swing it back to Naruo. A soft flip that finds Natasha Wan. She lasers it to Roeder. He's going deep toward the corner. Can Cox stay in bounds? No, he cannot. Well, trying for the greatest, and they got it.
No, they ruled him out of
bounds.
That was an unbelievable effort there from the Polar Bears, and that would have been the play of the tournament.
Come on! Let's go, Dragon!
You're allowed to catch it out of bounds and swing it back.
As long as your last point of contact was inbounds.
No, it wasn't. That's why. He was out of bounds on his last point of contact.
Still a ridiculous effort, and to get, that quality of a throwback, Dragon Thrust has just given it away this point.
And that's a major turnover. Now Polar Bears get it right back on the goal line. Miller, who's had 5 assists today.
Nice cut.
Looking for a 6th. Naruo has it knocked away. Will we see a foul? Schoenrock's gone ballistic in the back of the end zone.
A little too much float on the disc and no foul call. Schoenrock got there, and he was fired up. Perhaps a game-saving play.
Great effort by Schoenrock on top of Naruo. Anchi So falling on top of him. And now Dragon Thrust with a chance to tie again. That one almost slipped away, but Jacob Lean keeps it alive. Emily Regan. Now Drescher. He fires it to the middle of the field and too low.
And that one was a force, and a nice job by Clay Miller on the mark. Got enough of his body in the way of the targeted path.
Cox looking end zone. Naruo has it. And a big point for Polar Bears. A little worm, why not, on a Sunday in Minnesota?
I guess that's one way to celebrate a goal. Forrest deep shot from Drescher. He's hit so many on target. That one not so much. And then the quick counter. Dragon Thrust is going to go back to the film and look at this point at 13-12 and just think of what could have been. Dan Naruo out of LPC in California. 29-year-old cutter. He has been a difference maker. Past 2 champs in the mixed division. Polar Bears trying to make it 2 out of 3 years. Seattle Riot also trying to make it 2 out of 3 years. Johnny Bravo also trying to make it 2 out of 3 years. Your 2012 winners were the Polar Bears, Riot, and Bravo. And I have to say, Riot and Bravo are probably the two favorites.
See how it shakes out throughout the day here on ESPN 3. Women's Championship at 2:30 Eastern. Men's at 5. Dragon Thrust needs a point. Almost turned it over, but a nice play by Bacon to keep it alive. Once the Polar Bears take over possession, it'll be game point. That's coming up now. Sonny Zaccaro with the D. And San Francisco can advance right here. Championship point for the Polar Bears. Rady swings it back. Zaccaro gives it right back to him. Rady fires it off to the side. A throw here could do it. It does! Lin Huang scores for San Francisco. And the Polar Bears are U.S. Open champions.
It's amazing how similar the two halves were, especially the way each ended. Polar Bears went on the run to end the first half and take half 8-5. They fell behind in the second half, but the defensive play made by Zaccaro. Dragon Thrust's offense betrayed them down the stretch, and that throw zipped to the Polar Bear rookie Lin Huang. Formerly played with Mischief, another Bay Area mixed giant. These two teams will meet again, perhaps in the finals at Worlds, who knows?
The U.S. Open Championship goes to San Francisco Polar Bears. A great victory for them, holding off a 4-0 run from Minneapolis to start the second half. The Polar Bears avenge last year's national championship loss with a win in the U.S. Open, 15-12 over Dragon Thrust. The 2014 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by the Discraft UltraStar, official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer today for Discraft UltraStar. The Triple Crown Tour, America's most competitive and prestigious series of ultimate tournaments. And by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of ultimate in the United States. To learn more about Ultimate or find out where to play in your area, visit usaultimate.org. San Francisco Polar Bears are U.S. Open champions. They beat Dragon Thrust 15-12. As we visit with the head coach of the Polar Bears, Alex Crew. And coach, it got a little dicey there in the second half. Minneapolis came out with a great run, but your team persevered.
Yes, it was quite exciting.
Deja vu, Alex, after what happened yesterday?
Yeah. CLX also gave us quite a run, and really it's just about trying to execute in the hardest situations possible. Unfortunately, we got a lot of practice at that, maybe more than I'd like.
Who are the individuals on the team that really spoke up during the timeout when they were making their run?
That really speaks to, I think, our veteran leadership. Anchiso, Greg Marliov, Adam Rady, just all the core that's been around a while. This is why we come for these kinds of games, getting used to these situations, this pressure, just being able to execute. It's tough.
Are you able to appreciate some of the plays that Adam Rady made in the air from the sideline?
Yes, although I'm very short and I'm not used to getting up that high in the air.
All right, Alex Crew, congratulations. Go enjoy this win.
Thank you.
San Francisco Polar Bears take it 15-12. Oh, look out! PB Roar.
Welcome to the staff, Coach. He was coaching wild card at this time last year, and now he moves to the Bay Area, reaches out to Greg and Anchi, and now he's chilly.
Take a look at our Discraft UltraStar play of the game as Alex Crew tries to dry off. It's the game-winning sequence for the Polar Bears, starting with that big D by Sonny Zaccaro.
Well, it began with Dragon Thrust falling apart offensively late. And just great disc movement near the end zone to finish it. Gormley to Huang. Great team effort from the Polar Bears.
We go down to talk to Greg Marliov, the captain of Polar Bears, and for a long time, who also doubled as the head coach of the team. Greg, this has to be pretty satisfying for you guys after losing to Dragon Thrust in the national championship last year.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to get one back against them. They're a great team, so we like playing them. They play hard. They're athletic. They run. So it's exactly the kind of game that we like, and that's why we play the sport. So we were able to come out on top on this one, which definitely feels good. But I'm sure we'll see him again. So,
Greg, congratulations. Those are some sharp-looking jerseys. Obviously, you're going to Worlds next month. When you put this Polar Bears team together for layout in 2010, in your wildest dreams, could you have imagined that you'd be going to battle for a world championship?
No, we definitely didn't see that coming. We were just a bunch of friends that wanted to go play. Most of us hadn't played very much mixed either, but we had a great time, and we realized that those were the group of people that we wanted to play with all the time. So that's how the Polar Bears started.
How has your team grown from 2010 to now?
I think we've gotten a lot of experience since then. We were a pretty young team. Very few people had been to club nationals. So we had a lot of young athletic players that were hungry. But now, we still kind of roll the roster a little bit. So we still have a lot of youth, but we have a lot more people that have been there and played in big games a lot of times. So I think that definitely helps us.
What about Italy are you most excited about?
The level of competition that we're going to get to play against. There's going to be a lot of great teams, not just from the U.S., all these teams that we played here, but also a lot of other international teams. So it'll be really fun to see them, see how they play, and match up against some of them.
All right, Greg, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Evan.
Greg Marliov, the captain for Polar Bears, the winner today as they beat Dragon Thrust 15-12. San Francisco Polar Bears, your U.S. Open champions, took out the Chad Larson Experience in the semis. They beat Dragon Thrust today. For Evan Lepler, I'm Wayne Randazzo saying so long from the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. Final score, Polar Bears 15, Dragon Thrust 12. To watch this entire game on replay, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Thank you for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN.